All right, let's get right into it. We're about to pull back the curtain on one of the most dynamic, fast-paced personalities you'll ever meet, the real-world action hero. But first, let me ask you a few things.
Seriously, be honest with yourself. When a problem pops up, a sudden crisis at work or a last-minute change of plans, is your very first instinct to move, to do something right away, and just sort out the details as you go?
And what about pressure? When the stakes are high, do you feel that jolt of energy, that thrill, instead of a wave of anxiety? Do you almost feel more alive when things get a little intense?
Okay, last one. When somebody lays down a rigid set of rules, is your first thought not how to follow them, but why they exist in the first place? And maybe, just maybe, how to get around them to get things done faster. Now, if you're sitting there nodding along to all of that, some people might have called you a little impulsive, maybe even careless. But here's the thing. These aren't flaws. They're actually the core features of a personality that is literally built for action. And that personality is the ESTP. They've got a few nicknames: the doer, the risk taker, and my personal favorite, the action hero. These are the people who don't just sit around talking about what needs to happen. They're the ones out there making it happen. So what's going on under the hood of this action hero? What's their internal operating system look like? Well, in this first section, we're going to break down the code that makes the ESTP tick. So let's look at the code itself. ESTP. First up, E is for extrovert. This means they get their energy from the world around them, from people, from activity, from being in the mix. S is for sensing, and this is so important. They are totally grounded in the here and now. They trust what they can see, touch, and experience, not some far-off theory. Next, T is for thinking. They run on a platform of pure objective logic. They care about what works and what gets results, not necessarily how people feel about it. And finally, P for perceiving. This gives them that love for freedom and flexibility. They want to keep their options open, always ready to pivot in a heartbeat.
I love this analogy because it just clicks. Think about a pro athlete in the middle of a huge game. There's no time to sit down and have a meeting, right? They have to absorb what's happening in real time, make a split-second logical decision, like how to score, and then just do it. That is the ESTP brain in action. They don't just learn by doing. For them, doing is really the only way they learn.
Of course, every action hero has their incredible strengths and their one fatal flaw. So for our next section, we're going to look at the ESTP's unique set of superpowers and their own personal kryptonite. Let's kick things off with what makes them so darn effective. And these aren't just skills they picked up along the way. These are their innate abilities, the very core of their power.
And you can see that power right here. Their confidence is legendary, for sure. But look closer at great problem solver in a crisis. Why are they so good at this? Well, it's because their sensing side scans the chaos for hard facts, while their thinking side immediately cuts through all the noise to find the quickest, most logical solution. They don't freeze up, they get to work. It's also what makes them amazing negotiators. They can read a room instantly and adjust their tactics on the fly to get what they want. But, and you knew there was a but coming, just like with any hero, the very source of their power, that incredible, unstoppable drive for action, can also be their greatest weakness. So let's flip the coin over and look at the other side.
Now, here's the crucial thing to understand. Every single one of these weaknesses is just a strength pushed a little too far. That impatience, it's the shadow side of their incredible speed. That hatred of routine, that's the flip side of their amazing adaptability. And leaving projects unfinished, well, that comes from that same sensing brain that's always scanning the horizon for the next big, exciting thing, which makes it hard to stay focused when the initial rush is gone. And their bravery, if they're not careful, can turn into a real addiction to risk.
Okay, so with all these superpowers and this tricky kryptonite in mind, where does a personality like this actually belong? Where do they really shine? This section is all about finding the natural arena for the ESTP, in work, in love, and in life.
This chart pretty much says it all, doesn't it? For careers, it has to be hands-on and results-driven. We're talking entrepreneurs building something real, salespeople closing the deal, pilots in physical control of a machine. And in relationships, they show love through action. They're that fun, exciting partner who will physically protect you and solve your real-world problems. And their communication style is just as straightforward. No reading between the lines, just direct, honest, practical talk.
And this slide just makes it crystal clear. You put an ESTP in a dynamic, high-energy environment with tangible problems to solve and the freedom to solve them their own way and watch them soar.
they'll be an absolute superstar. But if you trap them in a slow, bureaucratic job filled with abstract theory and rigid rules, you'll basically drain the life right out of them. They're built for the battlefield, not for the library archives. So how does an ESTP level up? How do they go from being just a powerful force to being a truly effective one? This final section is all about mastering that action mindset and turning all that raw potential into unstoppable success. Now, the path to mastery isn't about changing who they are. Not at all. It's about adding a layer of strategy on top of their instincts. That first step, learning to pause, even for just a second, is probably the hardest thing for them because it goes against their very nature. Developing the discipline to actually finish what they start is about realizing that true impact comes from completion, not just from starting something new. And respecting necessary rules, that just means using their logical brain to figure out which structures actually help them win instead of fighting against all of them just for the sake of it. And really, it all comes down to this simple but powerful formula. An ESTP's natural drive for action, that's their supercharged engine. It's got unlimited horsepower. But discipline, that's the steering wheel, that's the brake pedal. Without it, they can be thrilling, but also chaotic and sometimes destructive. With it, they become focused, effective leaders who don't just win the occasional battle, they know how to win the entire war. So after seeing the architecture, the code, the superpowers, the kryptonite, and the path to mastering it all, the big question is for you. Do you see yourself in this profile? Do you thrive when things get chaotic? Are you the action hero?
एक कदम विकसित भारत की ओर।